19th of October 2021. Welcome to a brand new day. My name is Priscilla Nalwoga and it is Good Morning Uganda once again, where we get to kickstart off your day from 6:30 all the way to 9 a.m. talking about various conversations, and we stretch it from politics all the way to sports. And just to give you a replay or recap of what we're going to be discussing this morning, as you know, between 6:30 and 7 o'clock we are always sharing something that has caught our attention within the last 24 hours, and this morning's story is quite a dire, saddening story. The rift between 50,000 shillings and a demand of 5,000 shillings in car damages caused someone's life to actually be taken away. But away from that, of course, we have to look at the news. In the last 24 hours we have got some interesting news that has been coming through. First of all, you get to look at a recap where Ugandans have gotten to celebrate the independence in the diaspora, and of course Electoral Commission has come out to say that they are yet to hold another batch of elections around December for the different positions. On international, ex-US Secretary of State Colin Powell dies at 84 years of age, and he passes away because of COVID-19. That's a very sad story. And of course, in weather, we intend to look at solar energy and how China intends to make it the sole source of energy by 2060. In our newsreel at 7 o'clock, we're going to be returning with Robert Kirabo and also Felix Nkunda, and we're going to be talking about the IGG's report, Corruption in Government, and how it's actually costing Ugandans a lot of money. In agenda, Robert Kirabo this morning at exactly 8 o'clock, he's going to be talking about the reopening of schools and government's response, and he's going to be hosting the PRO for the Ministry of Education. We're quite eager to hear what are the steps that they are taking as a ministry towards the reopening of schools. And then finally, in the world of sports, you do have a Liverpool on Katebe. Tonight they will be taking on Atletico Madrid. Also, Porto will be looking out for a challenge against Ruben Pima's Milan. The question is, which one is going to come out on top of Champions League fixtures tonight? Ruben Pima Chibirango will be here to give you all those details and more in the world of sports. So roughly, that is how we are going to be enjoying each other's company in this morning here in Good Morning Uganda. Good morning to you, Robert Kirabo.
Good morning to you, Priscilla. I'm very sure our viewer is excited. You can't miss a meal of information
that is very
containing
true.
that this lovely morning. And of course, I have a smile on my face.
How are you?
I'm very fine.
Okay.
I have a reason to at least smile since,
do tell. I
since
love your
2019. Reason being, when my friend, a member of our community, that is the bikers community, Sublime Ronald, was gunned down, you know, we're all taken by shock. Put on a police patrol, then removed, then shot at. So we've been pushing and praying for justice. And yesterday, David Sali, the Mukono court sentenced him to 20 years imprisonment. Well, it can't bring back the life of Sublime.
True.
But at least we know that justice
has been served.
We would have loved maybe something bigger, but at least we can say his life. We can now, as the community, the bikers community where he came from, say yes, our brother died, but as we try to show the kids enjoy life and everything, at least some justice. So that's why I have a smile on my face. 2019 till today, we've been waiting for this day.
Well, that is definitely some good news coming out and something to smile about. Speaking of justice, one that knows justice better than we do, Felix Nkunda, good morning to you.
Good morning, Priscilla. How are you?
Very well. How are you?
I'm awesome.
Reason to smile this morning?
I'm alive.
Okay.
I'm alive, and definitely every other day I count my blessings, and I know for a fact I've actually come to learn most recent that growth is a blessing and old age is a blessing. And one of those days, a couple of weeks or months, or I think months now, when I started noticing gray hair in my beard, I started
You have gray hair in your beard.
when someone tried to, so there was like a thread trying to pull up, like no.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's well. It's I'm trying to chase a brother.
So do you feel like time is rushing you?
No. I am happy.
Do you feel any pressure by the appearance of gray hair?
I'm actually happy. You know, I am for Robert. I am very happy, and for me, I bless God for age.
Okay.
Age,
All
yeah.
right. Well, Molen Kenyano doesn't have gray hair, but I don't know what color it is. I just know it's the same color as
She has orange.
Felix's trousers.
Goldie. That's gold.
So you're wearing golden pants.
But
Good morning, Molen Kenyano, and how are you?
yes, good morning to you, and it is a good morning indeed. But I'm telling you guys, one of these days I'm going to get some gray hair. You know, there is hair that comes when it's like, there is blonde, and then there is that one which appears like gray hair. So I think I'll get myself one of those
What are we talking
wigs.
about now?
They're like wigs, you just wear it.
Wigs?
Yeah.
Yeah, she wants to be like you. You've
You know,
inspired her with the
I've
gray
been,
hair.
I've been
You
talking
look okay with
I've been
grey
talking to
hair.
Molin here, and when you're talking about corruption, I was telling her, Molin, are you corrupt? She's like, no way. I'm like, are you sure you're not corrupt? No. And
Like, yeah,
so I'm like,
obviously no.
whose hair are you putting? Now she has just affirmed the thing that I was trying to tell her. So in the IGG's report, probably
But
should
guess
include.
what my answer
hair.
was? It is my hair. Bought
she
it
took
with
it.
my money, so it becomes my hair. It is processed hair.
Once upon a time, I went to a function. No, it wasn't a function. It was a training, and there was this lady who had, a nice hairpiece, and she looked very smart. Like, you just look at her and you admire and say, "Yes, madam, you have definitely invested in your hair." And then the next day, it was a 3-day training. So the next day, she had a different piece on. Like, wait. How did that happen? Day 3, she had a different. It's like, yay, sister, relax. How do you expect the brothers to understand this whole dilemma? So I want to find out from the brothers.
Story of our lives.
How exactly do you manage these transitions of chiwani?
Let's start with Robert.
The movable chiwani that you wear it during the day, you put it off at night.
That it's
But
hair.
it is the truth.
No,
One thing
it's
I'll
hair.
tell you, a young man watching us this morning, go for inner beauty. When it comes to physical beauty, women of today, you will find from the eyelash,
How are they supposed to see the inner beauty?
everything.
Not
Well,
written.
love that woman because of what you see in her,
Inside.
not what she looks like,
Yeah.
because it can change. Even if it's not about the wig and weave, whatever call it, even with time,
Inner
even with
beauty,
time.
we don't move with microscopes to start seeing inner beauty.
When the ladies understand what I mean by inner beauty, you men, you're taken by what you
But
see.
it is not the men.
Taken by
You
what
man,
they
you're taking
feel.
yourself out of the picture.
They're taken by what they feel. So what you feel about this, her intellectual capacity, the way she speaks, go for that. But when you ever go for the physical beauty, my young brother,
But you see,
You'll
God
be
designed
disappointed.
men in such a way that they are
You go
attracted
for
by
inner
the
beauty.
sight.
And you see, Robert,
this is what we'll be trying to do, attract you by
And
sight.
Robert says that the women understand. It's not that the women don't get a corner.
If we understood,
It
we
is
would
us
be
to
putting in so
understand.
much effort, by the way.
Yeah.
Because Felix, gone are the days when you would meet a lady who was so natural.
Yeah.
Today the nails, the eye,
Lash.
Do you
everything.
know?
So when you wake up in the morning
I want to hear
and you
Felix's
and
experience.
you saw this beauty somewhere,
Yeah.
she wakes up, you can run out of your bed
Yeah, that's
because you're basically looking at
Do you
the
know that-
Felix,
physical.
have you ever
No,
had
that is
a
again
lady
too
and then the
much.
hair just went?
Watch yourself, Priscilla. But I know for a fact that women put on boobs now. There are those
Yeah.
bras that have, and you see a woman with a very nice
But are they like,
built chest.
are they
like
around
Hey,
you?
even-
I think.
Yes, and then she has a big buttock, and then you're all like, whoa.
Yeah.
Now, the next day you meet her, you'll be like, wow.
And on definitely like, yeah.
And it all ends like,
Okay, so what is your message to these ladies? Should they continue? Should they just be considered, not overdo it? What are you trying to say?
No, I don't mind them. Do what
Okay.
you want.
Do
It's
what
life.
you
I mean,
want.
it's your body. Make it. I mean, you live once.
All right,
Make
Robert.
because if you think that will put up your esteem, do what you want.
Do what you want.
Yeah.
Thank you
Whatever
very
makes
much,
you
Robert.
comfortable.
what's
Yeah,
your
whatever
message
makes
to
you
these ladies?
comfortable.
Yeah. No, I think I
A
subscribe
person
to that
who
too.
loves you will appreciate you
Okay.
the way you are.
All right.
To avoid disappointments,
It's that
be
somewhere.
the way you are. Even the Bible
Kirabo
says
goes
the
for
glory
inner
of a woman
beauty.
is her hair,
You
not
check
this
inner beauty.
artificialness that you
And
put
I'll
on.
give you
Yeah.
kids that are
Biblically,
looking like
the glory of a woman
inner
is her
beauty.
hair.
inner
So
beauty.
stay natural. Someone We'll appreciate you.
Okay. All right, this conversation will not end, so we shall, continue it elsewhere. But you can let us know what your 2 cents are on this conversation on our WhatsApp line. We want to hear from you. Women and what we wear to attract the eye of the man. The extra hips and eyebrows, eyelashes, hair. Felix, this
just one thing. Have you seen women on border borders?
No, don't go
like
far.
She holds her hair like
don't go
so.
Far. On Friday, I was with a young girl. No, on Friday I was with a young girl and she was wearing her lashes and she was looking very beautiful. But then she had to remove her jumper. I told you the lashes go with the jumper. So
they went with the lashes.
And then I saw again saying, there's something wrong with your face.
And the problem is that one kalash can't stand the other one.
No, my lashes went off. Hey, okay. All right, please, your 2 cents on these conversations are very important. Please share them with us. I am here ready to check out the WhatsApp and read your messages. For now, allow us to just go into the last 24 hours, recap on local news as well as international news, and then we return.
And we will begin with, that is the Beatitude of the Orthodox Church meeting His Excellency and the First Lady. He's in the country, that is regarding sympathizing and standing with the Orthodox fraternity in Uganda following the loss of the Archbishop of the Orthodox Church, Metropolitan Nyonyintono. President Yoweri Museveni and the First Lady and the Minister of Education and Sports, Janet Kataha Museveni, received the Pope and the Patriarch of Alexandria and all of Africa's Beatitude, Theodore II, who paid a courtesy call on him at State House in Entebbe. The visiting Beatitude is in the country for condolence with the people of Uganda and the followers of the Orthodox Church upon the death of the late Archbishop Nyonyintono. His beatitude was accompanied by a delegation of bishops who included His Eminence Metropolitan Makoros and the Bishop of Nairobi in Kenya, His Eminence Innocentino Byakatonda, the Archbishop of Burundi and Rwanda, His Grace Nepoli Kangoyi, the Bishop of Nyeri and Mount Kenya, His Grace Sylvester Kisitu, the Bishop of Gulu and Eastern Uganda, and the Archmederus Musanji Karioti, who is the Patriarch Vicar of Goma and DRC Congo. Others included various reverends in the Orthodox faith world over. The Beatitude, that is Theodore II, told President Museveni the history of the Orthodox Church, whose followers are now estimated to be over 350 million worldwide. The Orthodox Pope, who has been in Uganda 6 times, expressed his love for the country and pointing out the mission of the Orthodox Church in Africa that starts in Uganda.
Ugandans living in the United States of America have celebrated Uganda's independence at a colorful function held at Uganda's embassy in Washington. In attendance was the chief guest, Ms. Chidi Bilden Rowe, the Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for African Affairs at the Pentagon. Speaking at the function held at Bethesda North Marriott Hotel and Conference Center, Washington, D.C., Uganda's ambassador to the USA, His Excellency Mul Sebuja Katende, congratulated all Ugandans and thanked friends of Uganda who sent messages of friendship and solidarity. Among them were reassuring congratulatory messages by President Biden to President Museveni and the Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, to the people of Uganda. Ambassador Katende also revealed that the embassy received solidarity messages from heads of state and government of other countries of accreditation like Argentina, Brazil, Colombia, Jamaica, Mexico, Paraguay, Trinidad and Tobago.
And back to the struggle and fight against corruption, where the Inspector General of Government, Betty Olive Kamia, has appealed to Parliament to set up an independent committee to handle reports from the IGG's office if corruption is to be eliminated in Uganda and government institutions. Kamia said this during an interface with the Speaker of Parliament, Jacob Olanya, yesterday morning.
Finally, on the local stories, the retired Justice Professor George Wilson Kanyehamba has threatened to petition the challenging the president's proposal, opposing the grant of bail to capital offenders and the sentence of life imprisonment. Professor Nyonyintono, who is opposing the president's proposal, says by amending the bail and life imprisonment law, this will conflict with the international law and norms, including violating the human rights. Professor Nyonyintono disclosed this during a presser at his home situated in Buziga. And on to our international stories, where we get to look at the ex-U.S. Secretary of State, Colin Powell, passing away.
Yeah, quite sadly, that story did also come onto the scene yesterday, where we did see that tributes are being paid to former U.S. Secretary of State Colin Powell, who has died of COVID-19 complications at the age of 84. Now, the former top military officer died on Monday morning, as his family said he was fully vaccinated though. Now, Powell became the first African-American Secretary of State in 2001 under Republican President George Bush, and he also sparked controversy for helping Ghana support for Iraq war. Now, we have lost a remarkable and loving husband, father, grandfather, and a great American, the family said in a statement, thanking the staff there at the Walter Reed Medical Center for their care and treatment. Paul had previously been diagnosed with multiple myeloma, a type of blood cancer which may have made him more that is susceptible to COVID-19 symptoms, according to the US media, as well as Parkinson's disease. In other stories, North Korea fires ballistic missiles into the waters of Japan. And we see North Korea has fired at least one ballistic missile into the waters of coast Japan, South Korea, and Japan's militaries have come out to say. Now, it comes as South Korea, Japan, and U.S. intelligence chiefs reportedly meet in Seoul to discuss North Korea. In recent weeks, the Pyongyang has also embarked on a flurry of tests and what is claimed to be a hypersonic and long-range cruise missile and anti-craft weapon. Also, some of these tests violate strict international sanctions. North Korea is specifically prohibited by the United Nations from testing ballistic missiles as well as nuclear weapons. Back to Africa. Looking at Ethiopia's government admits that is a Mekele airstrike. Ethiopia has admitted it was behind the airstrike in the capital of the conflict-riven Tigray region hours after it denied it had carried out what rebels say were deadly raids. Now, the state-run news agency said the attack had targeted rebels, communication and weapons facilities, but media controlled by the Tigray People Liberation Front said 3 civilians had been killed. Now, the rebel group is at war with the Ethiopian federal government, and the government initially denied the allegation it had struck targets in Tigray's capital, which is Mekele.
Well, still on an international scene, solar energy could be cheaper and reliable across China by 2060. Now, at the upcoming UN Climate Change Conference in Glasgow, much attention will be focused on China as the world's largest carbon dioxide emitter. Now, China's efforts to decarbonize its energy system will be crucial to the goal of limiting the rise of global average surface temperatures to 1.5 degrees Celsius. Now, China has already made major commitments to transitioning its energy system towards renewables, especially power generation from solar, wind and hydro sources. However, there are many unknowns about the future of solar energy in China, including its cost, technical feasibility and the grid compatibility in the coming decades. Now, recent projects of the cost of the future solar energy potential in China have relied on outdated and underestimated costs of solar panels and the installation and storage technologies like lithium-ion batteries. Now, how much will solar power really cost in China in the coming decades, including the challenges it inherits, variability poses to the grid? Now, researchers from Harvard, University of Beijing, University of Tianjin, and the University of China in Beijing have found that solar energy could provide 43.2% of China's electricity demand in 2060, at least less than 2.5 of the US per kilowatts. Now, for comparison, coal power traffics in China ranged 3.6 to 6.5 cents per kilowatt hour in 2019.
Well, that's an interesting story. It makes me wonder, for the part of Africa where we are graced and blessed with so much in terms of natural resources, how are we actually utilizing them to be able to then cater to the country at large? If a country like China with 1 billion people, within their country, you get to see them planning for a real solar power takeover by 2060. I think these are very eminent times that we need to be very strategic for the future, given the way weather, nature and climate are responding to what we are doing today. But poll question coming up, we definitely have to remind you that your immunity system is very, very important to you. You must take care of it.
Now, what more can government do to curb corruption in public offices is our poll question. What more can government do to curb corruption in public offices? Now, hashtag UBCGMU, and of course on WhatsApp 0709 60 25 92.
All right, thank you so much, and we can't wait to hear of your opinions. But for your immunity reminder,
Hallelujah, Jinga tea and Hallelujah turmeric are here for you to ensure that you kickstart your day every day by boosting your immune system. So please, just 1,500, get yourself a bottle that has what you may not be able to gather at the same time in the natural form that has been condensed for you in these bottles. Hallelujah Ginger Tea, Hallelujah Turmeric are safe and have been certified by the Uganda National Bureau of Standards. So go get yourself one. It is all about boosting your immune system for the body to fight diseases.
All right, on to the 7 o'clock hour. We shall get you there. But for now, we'll leave you with the song for the day.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. Canal Avenue in UBC Studios. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Five minutes past the hour of 7. Welcome to our newsreel this morning, where we're going to be looking at a cancer that is eating our country day by day. And yet seemingly, despite all the avenues we've put in place to ensure we fight this cancer, it seems to be growing, or they are not yielding as much as they should be doing. Once again, I'm Kirabo with my colleague Felix Nkunda, with whom we are going to be discussing the evil of corruption in this country. Now, yesterday, the Inspector General of Government, Betty Namisango Kamya, while handing over a report, that is the Inspectorate of Government Integrity Survey report, to the Speaker of Parliament, Jacob Oulanyah, mentioned that the report indicates that Uganda loses 20 trillion every year in corruption. I repeat, the figure is 20 trillion every year to corruption. Now, when we look at the 2020 corruption, that is perception index by that is Transparency International, it puts Uganda second in East Africa when we look at corrupted countries, but also in the world it is ranked 142 out of 180 countries that are ranked by this corruption perception index. So this all shows that there is so much that maybe a person in the village would be getting, and they're not getting this service because of few individuals that have made this away. Of late, we have what they call syndicate corruption, where it's a group, it's a chain, where each one just integrates into the other to fleece, to rob Ugandans huge sums of money. However, there are also efforts that government has done, and this is what we want to begin by analyzing. Felix, if we look at a country called Uganda, our motherland, it is one of the countries that has good laws, that has a number of institutions that fight corruption in this country. But despite that, it seems the curve is not flattening. We could have slight improvements, but we are not getting the major breakthrough. Yet so much is being lost. 20 trillion every year. That is even about what we contribute domestically in this budget as a country. What we expect to get, almost half of our budget is lost to corruption.
Yeah, and it is quite sad. However, when I was watching this story yesterday, there are so many things that went through my mind. And for me, the relatable analogy would be, you say you are sick, you know you have a cough, and you know that actually you do it because you actually cough. the best symptom of knowing you have a cough is the fact that you are coughing. Now, the gravity or the kind of cough you have can be later on determined by the magnitude of the cough. When some people cough and it's so gross and you like. So, when you know you have a cough and you think knowing you have a cough is the best you can do, it is very sad. The purpose of us trying to understand corruption, the existence of all these institutions that relate to fighting corruption, is not for them to unveil corruption. I don't know if you get me, Robert. That it is not enough for us to say we have corruption, Kirabo is corrupt, Felix is corrupt, ABCD is corrupt. It is not enough.
Like the Speaker of Parliament said, corruption is with us. It is in the church. It is in.
So should we bow down?
Everywhere.
You see, policy. When we are crafting policy, always say objectives for any institution, civil institution. The intention in these craftings is not for for us to just know. No, you see, and for example, the office of the IGG is not meant to bring to light. You get the point? It is as good as useless if all Parliament can do is to bring to light. If all we can do as the media is to bring to light, it's as good as useless. Because what's the use of Kirabo knowing that we lose over 20 trillion? What is the use?
This is to create, to cause an action. That yes, you have a problem of this magnitude, let's wake up, now let's act, let's stop dilly-dallying.
That's not the intention. You see, if you want to look at it from a different angle, it may even seem as an insult to some of us, to some of the people who have lost loved ones because of absence of fair services or good welfare in the country. For someone who drives on a bad road, for someone's children who can't, for very many things, for people who have been to hospitals, for just to you know the situations, the challenges we have as a country. And then you come out and say, it is like affirmation. It's like word of affirmation. We do this. Now, these reports, and I think the style should change if anyone in this office is listening. The style should change. We should have parallel reports. How much have we called back through the offices? We have. We need to have that survey that through the office of the IGG, annually we are able to
recover.
From the 20 trillion, we recover at least quarter. Through the courts of law, the anti-corruption court, we are able to recover. Through the State House Anti-Corruption Unit, we are able to. Through the COW's office, through the local governments, through Parliament, the park, the COSASE, through. Now, then that report would make sense. Because it would be trickled to something interesting for the people in the country. But when we talk about corruption, it may seem like we have agreed to live with it. And this is the way most institution heads talk about corruption.
Felix, let's look at the institutions you've talked about. What are we lacking? We have the institutions in this country, and we still see monies, reports like you've said, indicating in such an area we lost this amount of money. It seems there is a ghost because money is lost. We go to courts of law. Sometimes it's very hard to secure convictions, and you wonder if evidence on paper in systems indicates money is missing. You have the anti-corruption court, police has that, a full directorate to that. We have the State House Anti-Corruption Unit. We have the Inspector of Government. We have all these institutions.
You see,
where is the problem?
You see, Robert, one of the sources of law that I love so much is customary law, or customs. Why? That for a custom to become law, it must be qualified for at least 4 major aspects. The first one, that for a custom to become law, it must prove that it is a common practice. There must be an aspect of commonality. Now, commonality means that it is not objected by anyone. It is common to all the members of that society. The second one is that this custom must not be under any form of contestation by any sect. You get it? That for it to become law, the custom must not be contested by either Ndugu Kirabo or a sect of people. The third, that this custom must not be contrary to natural justice. That it must stand straight with the norms of natural justice. Now, the fourth is the most interesting, that it must have passed the test of time. It has been in practice for years. It has a level of continuity. It's been passed on because that is just good enough. You get it? When you look at the corruption laws and institutions, they must have a background of those 4 principles. And the question is, are the laws, the institutions, that are related to corruption in this country, how common are they in terms of applying their mandate? Are they common?
Are they cross-cutting?
Do they apply to Kirabo like they apply to Felix?
Or do we see
Mahad?
sacrificial lambs?
I don't know. But you get the point that this is now. Let us just subject these institutions, what you call institutions, what you call the laws. How common are anti-corruption laws today? Second, are they acceptable? Are these institutions acceptable, both legally but also by the public? Acceptability means that some of the institutions must also win the trust, because corruption, you talked about the aspect of syndicate. You need other players, just like the police says that the first police is the community. So if people do not subscribe to accept some of these institutions, they can never work.
Well, we see
Third,
just at that, Felix, there's one time something that really didn't go well with my mind, and up to now I ask myself, you always say that when you're seeking for justice, you must come with clean hands. At a time, we had some people arrested, and I'll use, one is a politician. When he was arrested, people from his grouping pushed and pushed, had press conferences, desired to meet His Excellency and say, for us, the so-so-so tribe, this is. Another one was when I saw the leaders of faith, when our former vice president was. When they went everywhere, I saw the Uganda caucus, and I was like, now if you are judging this case, the religious leadership has even gone to visit a person.
But let me ask you a question, Robert. Do you know why all those things come to play? Commonality. The laws, you see, in a governance, in a jurisdiction where you have imbalance of legal practices, these things will never end. Where political practices lack civility, you cannot deal with corruption. Where you don't have civil political practices, you get it. If Kirabo commits something, and today I come and say, no, leave Kirabo. Take Felix. You leave this one. Political civility. Now, the absence of political civility cripples institutional formalities, that even courts will fail to stand as courts to adjudicate over matters because of lack of political civility. Now, that's why you see that some people will proudly tell you, what can you do? You look at the reports of PAC, the Parliamentary Accounts Committee. Parliament allocates money for ABCD, and someone uses money for XYZ. And Parliament, the one that gave the money, cannot question the money.
With impunity. People have now come to,
it is
it will pass.
For me, I know, and that's what they
pass.
say. It will end. They always say it means, when someone says Nechino, it means there was another one that happened. Nechino. So what I'm saying is that this whole report is just putting more salt in the wound. That if you're hurting enough, if you're driving on bad roads, if you have medicine, if you don't, okay, we just throw it. That's why I told you. So what? If you're telling us a report of 2 trillion, so we must have a prior report to that. 2 trillion has ABCD, but also from this 2 trillion, these offices have contributed this much, this much, this much, and this much. Let me say this, Robert. The country having good laws and the right institutions, and that's a matter of fact, they are right institutions as a matter of fact, is not good enough. The most important thing in terms of fighting corruption, and you can research and find out internationally, is building a capable will of the statesmanship. Build a capable will for all the citizens. And that includes from the beacon of power, from the head of state, to the last man who's a fishmonger, to someone in the market, a sweeper. Because corruption doesn't happen in the absence of human beings. Corruption happens between you and me and everyone else. So we must build a capable will of a country.
I love the word build a capable will for the country where laws apply equally to everybody and they're deterrent enough. Because what happens if we don't have several precedents that can cause fear against corruption? Many countries that have fought corruption, if you talk about corruption, it's an evil that they know will cause even a curse, will go down to the generations and generations of the people in these countries. Talk about the likes of China. When you talk about corruption, what is the punishment? How is it cross-cutting? We talk about Singapore. When we remember the times of Lee Kuan Yew, what he did to his best friend. He said, yes, you're my best friend, I'm in leadership, but you must face the law, the wrath of the law. And that was a turning point to corruption in this country. Well, for Uganda's case, also on a sad note, is that the IGG's office for the last 4 years has not received money from government that is needed for investigation, prosecution, and recovery of assets. We've been depending on foreign donors to give us the money, and one of them has been the Democratic Governance Facility, which was put on hold. So 4 years, if we don't have any funding for prosecution, for investigating and recovery, are we fighting corruption? These are some of the things that we also must look at. How do we empower the struggle, the fight against corruption? Some of the areas that were highlighted in this report where we've seen a lot of money wasted included absenteeism in public sector to a tune of about 2 trillion, health and education provisions, 451 billion, then security provisions, 86 billion, procurement and budgeting, 590 billion being lost there. Then taxation, we have 131 billion is lost every year. Look at user fee in public utilities, 459 billion, then natural resources, 820 billion shillings, and environment degradation, 15.4 trillion. So that makes a total of 20 trillion every year being lost in corruption. It is our country. It calls upon each of us not to condone because you benefit, but to condemn at all levels. If you fight it, the other fights it, then who will be able to see corruption thrive in our country? Let's love our country. Let's ensure we protect and look ahead. We can kill this evil. When we return, we'll be looking at what is interesting in the papers. I and Felix. Good morning.
It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field could not be possible without it.
And now we can watch our favorite show.
My radio is my best friend.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through licensing, standardization, spectrum management, tariff regulation, rural communication development, and consumer empowerment. An informed consumer is an empowered consumer. UCC supports local content and innovations. Driving the development of a robust communication sector in Uganda is Uganda Communications Commission.
Welcome to the home of our stars. Come on in. We have our movies, gossip, reality, conflict, tulinane comedy. Baserebu baffe bonna live right here, because no matter where you go, this is the home of our stars.
This year, as Power Magic Mix 3, we are delighted to invite you to see, experience, and celebrate with us. Power Magic, the home of our stars. Multi-Choice Uganda is regulated by the Uganda Communications Commission.
You know, you could just buy a new smartphone from anywhere in Uganda. Dial star 175 star 94 hash to activate their 100% double data bonus offer on weekly or monthly bundles for 3 months. Better yet, you automatically receive free 1 GB valid for 30 days. You are hooked already, aren't you? Enjoy a 100% double data bonus from Airtel. Buy a smartphone from anywhere in Uganda and insert an Airtel SIM card. Dial star 175 star 94 hash to activate a 100% data bonus offer on weekly or monthly bundles. Valid for 3 months. Dial star 175 hash and select your preferred bundle to activate a 100% data bonus offer on weekly or monthly bundles. Valid for 3 months. Airtel, the smartphone network.
When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way because we are all different even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Alleluia Jingati drink and Alleluia Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Alleluia Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Alleluia from all shops around.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Some mandate to ensure that you go through the day a very informed person because you made the right choice to start your day with us. So every weekday, we're here from 6:30 to give you a well-packaged meal of information that is very relevant to you as you go throughout the day. That is why now we look at some of those stories in the dailies. I hold the New Vision. My colleague has the Daily Nation and the Daily Monitor. We begin with the very big headline there, revised school syllabus. Dropped topics, they are listed there, move as part of the activities ahead of the opening of schools. So there is a revised syllabus, look at what they have dropped and what they are leaving there. Then the Orthodox Pope hails Uganda and Museveni. Still looking at the print, we have pastor, engineer among the 13 rebel suspects. Uganda protests East African staff recruitment. Yes, what is going on there? Uganda, we are saying we need more. We are joined by Sudan, and also now Burundi comes on board. Will the community grow, or will this be some of the encumbrances to that? Looking at the education column, we still have Senior 1 and Senior 5 work, that is biology, chemistry, and mathematics. Still, the New Vision brings you price of Arabic coffee shoot up. Well, good news to the farmers there in coffee. And EC, that's the Electoral Commission, to hold polls in 110 districts. Still looking at the New Vision, police officer who killed Nantaba's alleged assassin gets 20 years imprisonment.
The Daily Monitor, security arrests 13 over terrorism and calling polls succumbs to COVID-19. Also in the Rainbow, children make Independence Day memories and police hunts borders over killing a motorist. Now also push to remove bail targets opposition, Bobby Wine says. And inside the papers, now teachers yet to receive second dose of vaccine, and a park loses at least 400 million in payroll scam. Now from the archives, the then Minister of State for Regional Cooperations, that is Rebecca Kadaga, speaking to Ambassador of Algeria. That was in 1996. Now Museveni assures NCC on Karamoja security, and Americans defeat the British at Yorktown.
Well, back to the Vision this morning. We look at the COVID tracker where 75 new confirmed cases. Positivity rate is 1.8, and we look at death, none recorded. The total death so far is 3,185. Once again, go for that jab. Have your first and second so that we fight death, severe illness and hospitalization due to COVID-19, but also perfect the soaps to avoid the spread of this pandemic. Still looking at the new vision today in history, it was on the 19th of October, the year 1997, when ADF rebels killed 14 and looted property in Kabarole district. Still on the same date, but the year 1986, Mozambique president was killed in a plane crash.
Now in sports, let's also Eswatini test cranes metal, and of course there are Cobs Baskin Soroti hit, but also UEFA Champions League, Suarez unites with Liverpool. We see where Luis Suarez unites with old club at, of course, Atletico. Now also in sports, we're looking at the same way Nick suffocates Weyonje to maintain league summit, and stomach trouble frustrates Kisa in Barcelona.
While looking at the New Vision Sport this morning, all sports results are in the New Vision this morning, but also still looking at Arua, where we see tennis revived. That is some of the Arua City kids that are engaged in tennis at the Anyafio Golf Course. So that is in Arua, and of course the Vision still brings you the 7th of the 12 parts on Arua in sports there, but also there is 2 more for grabs. What is the New Vision referring to? Well, you'll get to know more regarding sports when you get yourself a copy. But don't forget that Ruben will be here with all the sports updates and those interesting conversations around sports in the country and of course internationally.
Raila goes for the hearts of voters in Meru region and return, that is Koitale's skull, petition of the British over legendary Nandi leaders' skull, and questions for the 20 billion payout for the atrocities. Now still a big headline on the warpath. We're looking at Kenyatta there making an address to a crowd and giving them accountability on much that has been said. The head of state cannot sack his deputy, but he could use other legal means to remove him. Quite a free-fall there between him and his deputy. Much of that, get copies of the papers now. Today, we'll also be giving you an update in traffic, simply talking about courtesy on the road. And this will spring from what the story has been watching social media pages, where we saw border riders leech motorists, claiming that he also knocked down one of their colleagues. But painfully, something that is to pick out of this is that when we use the road, we don't own the roads. We use them in relation and caring out for the neighbors that use the same roads. I think it's also simply that we must be modest. Accidents are things that happen out of, not in our expectation, but out of our expectation. So we must find more modest ways to deal with some of these happenings. It's key to be empathetic, but also keep yourself sane. 50,000 shillings allegedly caused the loss of life. Maybe now 2 people, the border man is alleged to have been knocked down to death, and also now the motorist was lynched to death. What do we gain and what do we learn out of this story? I think we need to learn how to live together. We will be taking ourselves now to understand more of what's trending in weather, and Molen will be giving us an update in weather, nature and climate. Molen.
Yes, thank you very much, Felix. And talking about weather, we do have extreme weather that we're talking about. Well, it's not good news. If we are talking about weather, we'd rather be talking about what is going to happen and not the news of what is happening, and especially if it involves death. Now, for the last 3 days, we have been talking about the flooding in India, and specifically the state of Kerala. Now, this area, so far, the news coming in right now show that we do have 27 people dead from the landslide that did also hail from the heavy rains across India. Now, what we're seeing is that there has been consecutive days of rainfall and heavy rainfall. So in such scenarios, you find that this kind of amount of rainfall in just a few days or even in just a few hours, you would expect that the land now starts to weaken, and that is where we get issues of landslides. However, also this area has been having effects of monsoon winds. Now, monsoon winds do affect India for this time of the year. Now, at least for the last 5 years, we've seen flooding over this very state, that is in Kerala, but that has been happening in August. Now, what is different this year is that we get to see these rains coming in October, and especially bringing more devastating effects. Now, also the good news coming in is that we have rescue teams on ground. Now, one of the people, also residents, trying to actually help with the rescue. We did see pictures of the military also coming in to help with some of the people that were trapped down there. But right now, at least news coming in from the military team and also other rescue teams like the Red Cross are saying that they have not confirmed that there are people who have been buried under this landslide, but still the death toll stands at 27. Now, also what is there to note is that the same monsoon winds actually affect the region of East Africa, and also usually they start from June and up to December, so we do still expect the same effect. And the fact that they come from the Indian Ocean, so they pick all this moisture from the ocean, bringing towards the land area. So this time we look at them going towards India, but we also have effects of those similar winds coming in as southeasterly winds, and there is also affect especially the eastern parts of the country, but only that for this time we're not seeing as much effects as those being seen in India. But we also did have landslides just recently across Bududa, and that is still across the eastern sector. Like I said, we do still have effect of those winds actually picking more moisture from the Indian Ocean, and that is where we all get that kind of heavy rainfall, which indeed after consecutive days, you can only imagine, that is when the land starts to weaken. And especially for areas that are hotspots like Bududa, we've looked at what is likely to happen there. It is still in the hotspot. Now, the difference may be that we have, especially when it comes to emergencies and disasters like this, is always having rescue teams ready, having contingency plans, and especially with evacuation. Now, you can imagine people dying from a disaster that has been, because like the Indian states did give out red alerts, especially the meteorological agency, saying that there is likelihood of flooding, there is likelihood of landslides, but there are always those people who stay just to protect their land. They stay to protect their homes and end up losing lives. So I think that when natural disasters, when weather-related events happen, you need to look beyond your property, beyond your homes, and save your life first. And that is something that I want to emphasize on. Now, also in our image of the day today, we look at an image coming in from Copernicus, and those are the satellites looking over the world. Now, what we have here is depicting what we're talking about throughout the course of last week, that is the eruption at La Palma. Now, this has been a continuing story, and coming to record is that this year we've had more activity going on in La Palma like we've never seen before. So what is being depicted in the red colors here is the sulfur dioxide that is coming in just from the eruption. Now, this whole area, this is all La Palma Island. Now, this whole area has been covered up with sulfur dioxide and much more of these gases that are very dangerous. Now, at the heart of what you're seeing here, the yellow-white colors, that is where we've had that active volcano. And this is the same volcano that is still triggering earthquakes across the island of La Palma, that is in Spain. So Copernicus did give out this image showing the coverage of what is going on over there. But we want to come back home and look at the satellites that are over Uganda. For this morning, we are starting off with quite a clear day. From northern Uganda, Karamoja region, you can enjoy the sun for now. We do have also eastern Uganda that is looking at very clear skies. You also can enjoy the sun. We're starting to have clouds developing for southwestern Uganda, Mbarara as well. We're seeing more developing across the Lake Albert, and that is also taking in the Rwenzori region. So yeah, that could be looking at rainy conditions. You can't get comfortable. Then we do have this rainy system that is stretching from Lake Victoria. I can tell you this is what is going to mess up your morning if you're around here. Now, it is stretching where you see the deep red colors to yellow to blue. This is rainy system, and it is already bringing up rains across the island of Kalangala, stretching towards Mukono, Jinja, already having those rains starting to kick in. But we're also going to be seeing these rains in Kampala, Wakiso throughout the morning, and that could actually also cover the afternoon. So you still have a small window. If you're leaving home, be aware that these rains are on their way. So find a way to probably have that umbrella handy, have that warm jacket. Make sure you're ready for these rains because they are coming. And this system, one thing about it that I'm seeing right now is that at least it might clear going a little bit to the north. So that means that the people here in Masaka-Rengo, that is the area to the west of Lake Victoria, you might see it a little bit later than what we'll be seeing here, because it will be going, and that continues up to the eastern parts of central, where Nakasongola, Wobblenzi, you can expect to also have those rains as the morning progresses. But more on that, we will look at our forecast for this morning and look at what areas are likely to also be dealing with most of those rains, stretching from much of the country. But the bigger system is actually stretching, that is from Lake Victoria. Now we start off with the central part of Lake Victoria, where we're looking at Mukono, Kampala, Entebbe and Wakiso. We are forecasting isolated rains. Like I say, those are coming your way, and also a morning will be cold, starting off at 24 degrees centigrade. Now we do have more across eastern Uganda, that is where we have Soroti, Katakuya, Muria, Kumi. You can also expect to see those rains quite light across a few areas, but that will be starting off at a pleasant 26 degrees centigrade. Do expect that rainy system to continue into the afternoon, although it will get a little bit warmer. Now we look at the eastern part of Central, where we have Ruwero, Wobblenzi, we have Nakaseke, Nakasongola in that category. We are expecting those rains to come your way as the morning progresses, starting off at 26 degrees centigrade. Also, that system is expected to continue into the afternoon. Now we look at southwestern Uganda, that is where we have Mbarara, Ibanda, Bushenyi, we have Rubirizi. We are forecasting isolated showers as well. Those will be across a few areas. At least 20% of that area will be looking at these rains. Also starting off with a cool morning, that will be at 24 degrees centigrade. But we'll look at a clearing trend as we head into the afternoon. Now more from that, we can see that at least mostly the midwestern part of the country for now is having quite intervals of sunny and cloudy conditions. But I can tell you one thing, this system is also headed your way, and that will be much more in the afternoon. That is across Masindi, Ntoroko, Fort Portal here, also stretching towards Kasese. So you can expect those rains that will be coming your way mostly within the afternoon. Well, that is all I have for you right now. You can stick around. We do have Good Morning Uganda agenda. Robert will come back here to take you through that, and also updates in sports. Now, I don't know much about sports, but I'm learning from Ruben, and you can also expect to have him give you the updates. He will be here later on, but you can also catch us on our social media platforms. We are on Twitter, #UBCGMU, and also streaming live on YouTube. That is UBC Television Uganda. Have a lovely morning.
This is Good Morning Uganda